Hey guys, I hope you're having an amazing day like I am, and I also hope you're ready to learn something new about something about society. Maybe you knew this or maybe you don't, but let's go ahead and get started. So, as a sociology major, I've spent a lot of time learning about how and why society functions the way it does. One of the more interesting and misunderstood topics in the field is deviant behavior. Now, when we hear the word deviant, it often brings up images of criminals or people doing something wrong. But in sociology, deviance surprisingly refers to behavior, beliefs, or appearances that goes against established social norms or expectations. For example, all crimes are considered deviant, but not all deviant behavior is criminal. A teenage girl with green hair might be seen as deviant in one setting, but completely normal in another. So, what causes deviant behavior? Well, there are several sociological theories that kind of attempt to answer this question. And today, I'll be focusing on three of those classical theories: functionalism, conflict theory, and symbolic interactionalism, specifically the concept of labeling. Let's get into my favorite and the first point I'm about to make, and that is functionalism. Functionalism is rooted in the works of Emile Durkheim. He saw society as a complex system made of integral parts where each part served a purpose in maintaining as a whole. According to Durkheim, deviance is not only going to happen, but it's also necessary for a healthy society to grow. Now, you might be thinking, how is deviance good? If I just said it was bad or I said it was not okay to have, well, deviance helps society norms by showing us what we consider unacceptable. It also brings people together as their shared disapproval on things, and more importantly, it can lead to political positivity, social change. Now, think about the civil rights movement, sit-ins, protests, any other forms of resistance were seen as deviant at the time, but those actions challenged the social norms of segregation and eventually led to major legal cultural shifts in the world. In a way, deviance behavior played a key role in improving society. Now, let's go ahead and move into my second favorite, conflict theory. Conflict theory, originated and developed by Karl Marx, takes a very different approach to the first theory. According to this theory, deviance arises from social and economic inequalities, those in power, typically the wealthy or politically connected. They use the institutions like the law, the government, or media to find what is considered deviant in a way, and that way that protects them from themselves and their interests. Now, this means that the same behavior might be punished harshly or overlooked depending on who is doing it. One example of this is drug sentencing laws. Historically, people caught with crack cocaine, often associated with lower income communities, have received much harsher punishments than those that are caught with powdered cocaine, which is more common among the wealthy. It's the same drug, different forms, but social consequences are very different between the two because of how people looked at them. Now, so under conflict theory, deviance isn't about breaking shared rules that people have assigned. It's about who has the power to make those rules and enforce the rules so they look better or they are punished as harshly, right? Finally, we have symbolic interactionalism, and specifically from that, the labeling theory. This perspective focuses on small-scale interactions between individuals and how the meaning is created through the social interactions that we do. George Hubert Mead, one of the main figures behind the theory, he believed that we formed a inner self by interacting with others and absorbing how they view us. Now, labeling theory, as expanded by Howard Becker, different person, same theory, builds on this idea. He suggests that deviance is not only about how the act itself, but how society reacts to that act when someone is labeled as deviant. When they're labeled as deviant, they might begin to see themselves that way and continue acting accordingly to that label that was given to them, right? Now, for example, I know this kind of sounds a little confusing, so I'm going to go a little more into it. Let's say a student is caught cheating on a test. That's the primary deviant act, is just cheating on the test, right? If teachers or us as peers begin to treat that student as a cheater, the student might start internalizing that label that we gave him, thinking, well, I already seen this way. I might as well keep doing it. That's called second deviation. The first and primary deviation is him cheating on the test, and the second deviation is us giving him that label until he accepts it. Now, there's a retrospective labeling where people start reinterpreting past actions to fit the label. Oh, yeah, I remember that student being shady before, he's going to be shady again. That's retrospective and giving him a label beforehand. There's also projecting labeling, which is when people expect more deviant actor behavior in the future because of the label. I bet he's gonna cheat again because he did it before. He's gonna do it again. He's cheating in the future. In short, labeling can create a self-fulfilling prophecy. Once someone is seen as deviant, it can be very, 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 very hard to escape that identity that we have bestowed upon them. So, to wrap things up, deviance by society, and that definition can change depending on the context, the culture, or who holds power within society. Um, Functionalism sees deviance as a necessary part of society's order and even a driver for progression to become better as a society or as a group. Conflict theory views deviance as a reflective and inequality of power struggles. And symbolic interactionalism through labeling theory explains how we see deviance as a construct through personal and social interactions with each other. There's no single answer of like what causes deviant behavior, just as there's no single kind of deviant act out there. But by understanding these three theories that I presented before, we get a deeper insight of how society works as a whole and how it sometimes doesn't, because society sometimes may mess up depending on certain theories. Now, I hope you really enjoyed watching this and you feel informed. If you want to continue talking about this, I'd love to talk about it more with you. I'll leave all my social stuff like that in the captions below. And I hope you really enjoyed this. And like I said, I hope you have an amazing day. Thank you for watching.